Donald Trump has responded to questions from reporters on whether he would pardon Sean Diddy Combs if he is found guilty.
Would you ever consider pardoning him?
Well, nobody's asked. You had to be the one to ask, Peter, but nobody's asked. But I know people are thinking about it. I know they're thinking about it. I think some people have been very close to asking. First of all, I'd look at what's happening, and I haven't been watching it too closely, although it's certainly getting a lot of coverage. I haven't seen him. I haven't spoken to him in years. He used to really like me a lot, but I think when I ran for politics, that relationship busted up. From what I read, I don't know, he didn't tell me that, but I'd read some little bit nasty statements in the paper all of a sudden, you know. I don't know, I would certainly look at the facts. If I think somebody was mistreated, whether they like me or don't like me, it wouldn't have any impact.
Only 12 people in that courtroom decided the fate of an empire. When the judge read the verdict, silence swept the room. Then everything unraveled. Allies froze, enemies celebrated, and secrets long buried came crashing into the light. What followed wasn't just a ruling, it was history being rewritten right before our eyes. Sometimes the final card a man plays is also the most desperate, and for Diddy, that card was Donald Trump. Before diving into the courtroom drama, we need to rewind to the backroom deals and desperate calls that almost changed everything. CNN confirmed that Diddy's legal team was secretly in talks with the Trump administration, hoping to secure the ultimate get-out-of-jail card, a presidential pardon. At first, Diddy's lawyers brushed off the reports as baseless rumors, but the whispers grew louder. And then White House staff confirmed it. Yes, there had been conversations. That's when the story took a shocking twist. Diddy's own lawyer, Mark Agnifilo, admitted that his client had said to him directly, "I need a pardon. Go tell him I deserve a pardon." Think about that. Diddy, one of the most powerful men in hip-hop, reduced to begging for political mercy. Now here's where it gets even more fascinating. On August 1st, 2025, Trump sat down with Newsmax and was asked point-blank about Diddy. His response, classic Trump.
He has since found himself in some very serious legal trouble.
Yeah, that's true.
Would you ever consider pardoning him?
Well, nobody's asked. You had to be the one to ask, Peter, but nobody's asked. But I know people are thinking about it. I know they're thinking about it. I think some people have been very close to asking. First of all, I'd look at what's happening, and I haven't been watching it too closely, although it's certainly getting a lot of coverage. I haven't seen him. I haven't spoken to him in years. He used to really like me a lot, but I think when I ran for politics, that relationship busted up. From what I read, I don't know, he didn't tell me that, but I'd read some little bit nasty statements in the paper all of a sudden, you know. It's different. You become a much different person when you run for politics and you do what's right. I could do other things, and I'm sure he'd like me, and I'm sure other people would like me, but it wouldn't be as good for our country. As we said, our country's doing really well because of what we're doing. So it's not a popularity contest. So, I don't know, I would certainly look at the facts. If I think somebody was mistreated, whether they like me or don't like me, it wouldn't have any impact on me.
Now, the final thing I want to say is this. I asked Joe Tacopina, what about Trump's comment? What does it do to the jury? And he thought it was a nightmare for Diddy that Donald Trump said this. And the reason he thinks that is when the jury goes into deliberations, they could end up saying, well, look, I mean, even if we convict him, because we kind of think he's guilty, we're not sure he's guilty, but if we find him guilty, he's probably going to get pardoned because Trump kind of sent that message.
Sean Diddy Combs, right? Would you consider pardoning him? Well, he was essentially, I guess, sort of half innocent. That half innocent remark left people stunned.
With the jury? Is that what you're trying to say?
He got enough influence, and I'm quite sure. Don't seem like the prosecution is that bad against him. Don't seem like I think he got some favors with the government. I think they're going to show him a little leeway. It might not seem like it when it's all said and done, but I don't think he has nothing to worry about. I don't think he's worried because he's going to be federal. And if he get convicted, Trump's going to pardon him. So what's the worry?
You think the President of the United States would pardon Sean Combs for trafficking?
shit, he pardoned Michael Harris, who allegedly killed a Jewish teenager, or had him. So they don't care about that. It's all about, what's in it for the long run and what the bucks say and what the power of the people want.
How does it go on for so long? When we were on the street, we didn't get a day's rest. I mean, the government was all over us. The FBI is all over us. They got investigations on us. They got informants. They got surveillance equipment.
But he was not cutting you off, but he was an informant for years.
Was he really?
Yeah. That's why when people was like, oh, he's going to run, he's not. The reason why these type of people get caught up, they always been telling they bigger than the law because they part of the law, And as you know, all these people get tired of their rats.
What did Trump really mean? And was he hinting at some behind-the-scenes deal we didn't know about? But Trump didn't stop there. He reminded the world that while he and Diddy had been friendly at times, things turned bitter when Diddy criticized him during the campaign.
Sean Diddy Combs is trying to get a pardon from Donald Trump for his crimes. One of his lawyers confirmed they'd reached out to ask for a presidential pardon. Since a New York jury found Combs guilty, his lawyers have been repeatedly trying to get him out on bail until sentencing, asking a judge to release him on a $50 million bond. Trump said while he was very friendly with Combs and thought he seemed like a nice guy, when he ran for office he was very hostile. Trump indicated he was unlikely to grant a pardon to the disgraced media mogul. Combs is due to be sentenced on October 3rd for his conviction on prostitution-related charges.
Trump admitted bluntly, it makes it more difficult. More likely, a no for Comamez. And just when you think that was the end of it, Trump added another chilling line. We don't like to have things cloud our judgment, but we're human beings, right? Which begs the question, was Diddy's fate sealed not by the law, but by politics? The cracks in their relationship became undeniable when Donald Trump himself admitted, he used to really like me, but when I ran for politics, that relationship busted up. I read some nasty statements. Trump tried to sound measured, stressing, it's not a popularity contest. I would certainly look at the facts, but if someone was mistreated, whether they like me or not, I'd consider it. But Diddy made it more difficult. What were those nasty statements? They resurfaced fast.
The Trump curse is real. Remember that Sean Puff Daddy Combs was saying that men like Trump need to be banished in 2020. Isn't that interesting?
If this man is elected, we're not standing by no more getting killed. We're not scared of anybody standing up and standing by. We're on the verge of a race war. White men like Trump need to be banished. That way of thinking, it's real dangerous. When you look at it, we don't have no choice. You know what I'm saying? You can say what you want about Biden. I can't say I love the pick either, but hey, we got to get him in office.
It's all making sense.
Diddy had gone on record calling Trump the face of hate. He even launched his own political movement to oppose him, saying, white men like Trump need to be banished. We're in a war. Love versus hate. Diddy went further, predicting chaos. If Trump gets elected, I believe in my heart there'll be a race war. The tribe of people that should be scared to death of this man is white people. And when Trump infamously told the Proud Boys to stand back and stand by, Diddy accused him of threatening the lives of minorities. The feud might have cooled until 50 Cent stepped in. Known for never missing an opportunity, 50 began tweeting Diddy's old anti-Trump rants. One post read, "See Trump don't like shit like this, buddy. You run your mouth too much. That was all it took." Commentators couldn't help but notice, Donald Trump is as petty as 50 Cent. Both never forget disrespect. The courtroom tension only grew after Diddy's conviction. His legal team launched a desperate campaign to keep him out of jail, filing 5 separate bail requests. Every single one denied. The first attempt looked standard.
The Sean Diddy Combs trial has just denied bail for Combs hours after a split verdict in the racketeering and sex trafficking case against him. On the 3rd day of deliberations, the jury finding Combs not guilty on 3 of 5 counts, acquitting him of the most serious charges of racketeering, conspiracy, and sex trafficking. Combs guilty on 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution. Each count carries a maximum of up to 10 years behind bars. The verdict considered a huge win for Combs, who is facing the possibility of life in prison. He's been behind bars since his arrest in September. Let's get right to ABC's chief investigative correspondent Aaron Katursky. And Aaron, we know that the defense was hoping that Combs would be able to leave the courtroom and go back to his family today. And earlier he even said to his family there that I'm coming home. But it turns out that that is not the case. What are you learning from what happened in this hearing late today?
Sean Combs entered court just a moment ago, looking upbeat. He greeted his family, who crammed into the gallery, all in one bench, his mother, sons, twin daughters. And I think he was anticipating that he would be released following the mixed verdict, especially the acquittal on all of the violent crimes. But the judge immediately sat down at the bench, started reading his decision, saying bail is denied. He would not be released prior to sentencing because the judge said his incarceration is required based on what he was convicted of: transportation for the purposes of prostitution. The judge said the defense did not make any successful arguments to say that that expectation should be overridden.
But the judge wasn't convinced. Then came the jaw-dropping move: a $50 million bail package.
Well, Diddy is upping his offer to the government. He wants out of jail right now. You know that he is still behind bars at Brooklyn MDC while he is awaiting his sentence in October. But right after he was sentenced, they tried to get out on bail. They made an offer. They said, we'd like for him to be released on $1 million bail. The judge shut that down. So now it's like he's playing Let's Make a Deal, right? How about this, Your Honor? What if we offer a $50 million bail package? The money has gone up, but the reason that he thinks he should get out is because he says what he's convicted of were non-violent offenses.
And he's right. He's right that he was convicted on 2 counts of the Mann Act. The Mann Act is hiring a prostitute and taking the prostitute across state lines. It's a non-violent crime. So when you look at what happened, there were allegations that he was violent.
Diddy offered up his Miami mansion, total house arrest with private security, 0 internet or phone access, and full government monitoring. It was an extreme bid to prove he posed no threat. But Judge Aaron Subramanian shut it down, declaring Diddy both a flight risk and a danger to the community. In his words, it's impossible for the defendant to show he possesses no danger to any person. Prosecutors doubled down, revealing the bail motion was filed 27 days too late, violating federal rules, and accusing Diddy of lying about his post-2018 behavior.
Put in an opposition to Diddy's bail request, and the prosecutors say they're actually looking for a more lengthy sentencing than what they originally thought. In this opposition, the prosecution is laying out the fact that the judge already denied Diddy's bail for being a violent person, and they hone in even more into Diddy's alleged violence against people. Prosecutors are saying that Diddy has actually been lying when he said that he didn't commit violence between his breakup with Cassie Ventura in 2018 up until 2024 with his incident with Jane. Let's go ahead and jump right into this motion. The government says despite the court's clear ruling that the defendant must be detained pending sentencing following his conviction on 2 felony counts, the defendant moves again for bail. The defendant's detention pending sentencing is mandatory. There is no exceptional circumstances justifying his release. Even if there were, the defendant cannot demonstrate by clear and convincing evidence that he is not a danger to the community. This court properly denied the defendant's request for bail on July 2nd of 2025, and the defendant has failed to present any reason for the court to reconsider its ruling. The court should deny the defendant's motion on this again on that basis alone, but then they get into listing more reasons. The defendant has failed to meet the strict standard for reconsideration. As an initial matter, the defendant's motion is untimely under Rule 49 because the motion was filed 27 days after the court's July 2nd, 2025 bail determination. the defendant fails to meet Rule 49, which is a 14-day deadline. Go on to say that Diddy has failed to show any exceptional reason.
They claimed he wasn't just reckless, but orchestrating darker crimes, transporting individuals for prostitution hundreds of times. Diddy's defense fired back, saying he was nothing more than a John, a client, not a trafficker, and argued the Mann Act had never been used this way before. They insisted this was an exceptional reason to grant bail, but the court wasn't buying it, and the walls around Diddy only closed tighter. The drama took an even darker turn when Suge Knight dropped a bombshell from behind bars. Diddy was an informant for years. That's why he was untouchable. According to Suge, Diddy wasn't just moving in the industry, he was moving with the law. He always thought he was bigger than the law because he was part of the law. But sooner or later, rats get tired. They'll turn on you. Suge even claimed Diddy once believed Donald Trump would pardon him. But after years of insults aimed at Trump, that hope disappeared. Now, instead of protection, prosecutors are asking for a punishment far beyond the original 4 to 5 year expectation.
To get sentenced. And so basically what prosecutors are saying is that they believe that his response, that his crimes reflect aggravating, not mitigating factors, and they want to justify his continued incarceration. Diddy had said that he's just a John. He's not the one that participated in having sex with these male escorts. He only watched. Right. And his ex-girlfriends are the ones that had sex. Well, they said that ignores the fact that he transported individuals for the purpose of prostitution on hundreds of occasions over the course of decades. And they also said he did ply Cassie and Jane Doe with drugs to make sure they would participate in marathon freak-off sessions while victimizing them through his violent outbursts. So they said he should not be released on a $50 million bond because he does.
The judge has the power to ignore guidelines and go much higher. Just when things couldn't get worse, the lawsuits piled up. At least 6 women came forward with accusations of abuse. One woman alleged she was underage when it happened, opening the door to new federal charges. Another lawsuit dragged Diddy's son, Justin Combs, into the storm over an alleged 2017 assault. Cassie Ventura's attorney called Diddy's modern love story defense a disgrace, while Cassie's friend, Deontay Nash, went further.
Claimed bad boy for life, Sean Combs is facing a series of new allegations of sexual abuse tonight. At least 6 people filed civil lawsuits against him in federal court in New York today. I think the biggest headline from here is that one of these alleged victims was a minor. That's serious.
Very serious, and I agree with you, Elizabeth. Obviously, it changes the game. This is just a civil lawsuit, but if that works its way into the federal criminal indictment, if there is indeed a superseding indictment, that changes the game in 2 ways. One, of course, there's a mandatory minimum and very serious sentences for trafficked minors. But importantly, it really gets around one of Combs's defense. That is that the sexual contact happened, but it was consensual between adults because, of course, minors cannot.
Directly asking the judge to deny Diddy bail, citing fears for Cassie's safety. The walls are closing in, and this time, not even $50 million or old connections may be enough to save him. By July 2025, the gavel had already fallen. Diddy was a convicted man. 2 Mann Act charges, each carrying up to 10 years while escaping the heavier racketeering count. But prosecutors weren't celebrating just yet. They wanted more. In court, NBC reporters described Diddy as deflated, his shoulders sinking when bail was denied. The man, once untouchable, now sat in Brooklyn's MDC, counting down to October 3rd, 2025, sentencing day. Trump, once a lifeline, publicly turned his back. He was friendly, but when I ran for office, he was very hostile. Makes it more difficult, analysts said that sealed his fate. Even if a pardon were possible, Diddy would still face time inside. Prosecutors are pushing for a punishment far beyond the guidelines, and whispers in court are chilling that Diddy plied women with drugs for marathon freak-off sessions. His final card, Trump's pardon, is gone, and with it, perhaps, his freedom forever. Is this the end for Diddy? Can he ever escape his sentence, or is his fate sealed behind bars? What do you think will happen next? Drop your thoughts, subscribe, and hit the bell for all updates.